Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jordy Janishik, and I'm the Learning Specialist for Students with Disabilities at the Weingarten Center here at the University of Pennsylvania. Today, we're going to talk about something that affects nearly every college student, but especially students that have ADHD: time management. Now, when people hear the phrase time management, they often think about planners, calendars, productivity apps, but for many individuals with ADHD, the challenge goes so much deeper than simply being organized. The reality is that many students know exactly what they should be doing. They know assignments that should be started early. They know deadlines matter. They know they should review notes after class. Yet, despite understanding all of this, they still find themselves waiting until the last minute. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. Today, we're going to explore why this happens and discuss some practical strategies that can help time become more visible, manageable, and supportive. So, I'd like to begin with a quote by ADHD researcher Dr. Russell Barkley, who is affiliated with the university. He has often said that ADHD is not primarily a disorder of knowing what to do. Instead, it's a disorder of doing what you know at the right time and in the right place. So think about that for a moment. Most students with ADHD aren't lacking information. They know when assignments are due. They understand the consequences of procrastination. They recognize the benefits of planning ahead. The challenge is translating that knowledge into action before the pressure becomes overwhelming. Many students will tell me things like, I knew about this assignment for weeks. I kept meaning to start. I don't understand why I waited. These experiences aren't signs of laziness or lack of intelligence. They're often connected to how ADHD affects time awareness and self regulation. A common phrase that you may have heard is, I didn't feel the urgency of the deadline until it was right in front of me. And that is exactly what we're going to be discussing today. So let's talk about what I call too much present. Life is constantly competing for our attention. There are assignments, texts, emails, social activities, chores, work obligations, countless distractions. Some of these tasks are exciting, some are boring, some are stressful, and some offer immediate rewards. ADHD makes it harder to balance all these competing demands. Research suggests that individuals with ADHD are often more strongly influenced by what's happening right now rather than what might happen later. Imagine sitting down to write a paper. At that exact moment, your brain may be comparing the paper to checking TikTok, watching a link that your friends sent you, chatting with friends, just honestly anything that seems more enjoyable. So that immediate reward often wins. And it's not because the paper isn't important. It's because the present moment feels louder and more compelling than future consequences. Creating enough mental space to pause, reflect, and intentionally choose the next step can be significantly more difficult. External distractors also become harder to ignore, which makes prioritization challenging. On the other side of this equation, though, we have not enough future. For individuals with ADHD, future rewards and consequences simply don't feel real in the present moment. Let's say the paper is due on Friday. Monday, that deadline seems pretty far away. Intellectually, you know it's coming. Emotionally and motivationally, however, it may not feel urgent. As a result, getting started can be difficult. This is one reason many college age students with ADHD rely on last minute pressure. As the deadline gets closer, urgency increases. Stress increases, adrenaline increases. Suddenly, motivation appears. The problem is that this strategy often comes with anxiety, lost sleep, rushed work, burnout. Consider a student who knows it's helpful to review notes after every class. They understand the value, they agree with the strategy, but week after week, they don't consistently do it. Similarly, they know starting a paper early would reduce stress, yet they begin the night before. The issue isn't knowledge, the issue is follow through. Understanding this distinction is important because it shifts the conversation away from blame and toward building systems that support action. So let's look more closely at how ADHD affects time awareness. Many people with ADHD struggle with knowing what is due and when, estimating how long tasks will take, tracking how long they've been working, recognizing when it's time to stop one activity and begin another. This collection of challenges is sometimes described as difficulty with time blindness. When time isn't consistently visible, it becomes much harder to plan effectively. You might underestimate a task and discover it takes twice as long as expected. You might intend to spend 15 minutes scrolling through your phone and suddenly realize an hour has passed. Or you may become deeply focused on one task and completely lose track of other important responsibilities. The good news is that these challenges are manageable. We don't have to rely entirely on internal awareness. We can use external supports to make time more visible and easier to navigate. That's where the strategies in the rest of this presentation are going to come in. So let's talk about these strategies. One of the simplest and most effective tools is also one of the oldest: clocks. Many students underestimate how helpful clocks can be. I encourage students to place clocks throughout their living and study spaces. Digital clocks are particularly useful because they show exact time in a clear format. The goal isn't just to know what time it is. The goal is to develop a habit of checking and reflecting. Whenever you look at a clock, ask yourself, should I still be doing this? Is it time to start something else? Am I spending my time the way I intended? These questions help to create a brief moment of self-awareness. Over time, this habit strengthens your ability to make intentional decisions rather than simply reacting to whatever is happening around you. Success often begins with awareness. And before we can manage time effectively, we have to notice it. Another important strategy is building a consistent scheduling system. Many students try to manage their lives from memory. Unfortunately, ADHD often makes that approach unreliable. If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing right now, it's easy to drift towards whatever seems easiest or most interesting. That's why calendars are so powerful. Whether you prefer a digital calendar, a paper planner, or a scheduling app, the best system is one that you're going to actually use. The key is regular engagement. A calendar will only work if you look at it. I also recommend setting reminders and alarms for important tasks and events. At the same time, consider reducing unnecessary notifications. When every notification is treated as equally important, truly important reminders lose their impact. Schedule creates structure. Structure reduces uncertainty, and reducing uncertainty makes it easier to begin. So now let's talk about some common problems with a traditional to-do list. I hear so many times, oh, I have this ongoing to-do list and I just feel like I can never tackle it. So here's the thing. To-do lists tell us what to do, but they don't tell us when to do it. So as a result, students often end up staring at long lists of these unfinished tasks and just feeling overwhelmed. So what we want to do is think about how we are adding items to that to-do list. So instead of doing something like write paper on a to-do list, we want to be more specific. For example, work on paper introduction from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. This is a small change, but it is going to have a significant impact. You've already made the decision about when you'll work. You don't have to keep negotiating with yourself throughout the day. This reduces decision fatigue. It also makes it easier to stay focused because you have a clear plan for the current moment. Time blocking transforms vague intentions into specific commitments. So, what we need to talk about now is preventing overload by using time blocking. Many students assume they can fit more into a day than is actually possible. It's just a fact. When tasks remain on a to-do list, they can feel abstract, unlimited, but when you place those tasks into actual time slots, reality becomes clearer. You begin to see how much time is available and how quickly it fills up. This visual representation helps create realistic expectations. It also makes it easier to identify when you're taking on too much. And if plans change, which they often do, you can simply move a task to another time slot. A schedule isn't meant to be a rigid contract. Think of it as a flexible roadmap. Its purpose is to provide guidance, not perfection. So now let's talk about mornings. They can be especially difficult for people with ADHD. There are often many transitions happening in a really short amount of time. So there are some strategies that we can talk about to have a smoother morning. One is to post reminders in locations you'll naturally see. For example, a reminder in the bathroom to take your medication, a reminder near your bedroom door to remember to grab your book bag, a reminder in the kitchen to take a banana with you because you're going to get hungry halfway through class. These visual clues help reduce the mental effort required to remember what comes next. What are you supposed to be doing? Why are you here? What do you need to remember? And of course, visible clocks. I'm going to keep coming back to this. They are going to help you stay on track. Going to be using those instead of relying on a single clock in your bedroom or your phone. With your phone, you're always receiving information. It can be a real distraction. So we just want to say simply use a clock. The goal is to make things harder to miss. You're seeing a clock. You're seeing these reminders that you've put out for yourself. The easier it is to make you notice these tasks is going to make it easier to notice time and how you are spending it. That helps make things become easier to stay on track. Now, one of the most common planning mistakes is forgetting transition time. Students often will schedule only the activity itself. So what this could look like is class starts at 10, meeting starts at 2, study session starts at 6. But what about the time required to get ready? Gather materials, travel, mentally switch between tasks. These transitions matter. When we're creating a schedule, it's important to build in tougher buffers. Include the travel time, include the prep time, include the setup time, and consider setting alarms for when preparation should begin, not just when an event starts. This approach reduces rushing and creates a more realistic picture of how your day actually unfolds. Another powerful habit is that you can start building in that only takes a couple of minutes is doing a daily planning check-in. Each morning, spend 2 to 3 minutes answering 3 questions. What are my top priorities today? When will I work on them? What absolutely needs to get done? This brief planning session can dramatically reduce decision fatigue later in the day. Instead of constantly asking yourself what you should be doing next, you've already created your roadmap. You don't need a complicated system. You don't need an hour-long planning ritual. Just a few minutes of intentional thinking can create clarity and direction for the rest of the day. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize one final idea: progress, not perfection. Building structure into your day is a skill. Like any skill, it improves with practice. You don't have to implement every strategy immediately. Choose one or two ideas that resonate with you. Experiment, adjust them, learn what works for your unique needs. There will be days when your schedule goes perfectly. There's also going to be days where it completely falls apart. Both experiences are normal. The goal is not flawless execution. The goal is creating systems that make success more likely over time. Remember, needing structure is not a weakness. It is simply a strategy. And for many people with ADHD, structure can make all the difference. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope that these strategies help you think differently about time management and provide practical tools you can begin to use immediately. If you'd like individualized support, have questions about ADHD and learning strategy, or want help developing systems that work for you, I encourage you to make an appointment with one of the learning specialists, including myself, here at the Weingarten Center. We're happy to help you build these skills, reduce stress, and help with your academic success. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you'll join us for part 2, where we'll focus on staying on track and following through once you've created a plan. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.